Newark, building a stronger, safer, prouder city.
In this tough economy, the only way to move forward is by creating jobs and opportunity for our community. Coming up next, hear how we are creating movement in one of the most challenging areas of our city, creating hope for people who often find hopelessness. Of From the Mayor's Desk. I'm Mayor Cory Booker, and listen, Newark is a city that is profoundly impacted by the cycle of incarceration, recidivism, and reincarceration. At any given time, nearly 6% of Newark men between the ages of 18 and 49 are in New Jersey State Prison, and more than 5,000 Newarkers are on probation or parole right now. This cycle contributes to crime, to unemployment, to the destabilization of families, and it sucks up so much of our precious public resources and ultimately undermines the economic and social fabric of our community. Today we're going to talk about real solutions, things going on in the city of Newark that you need to know that can help us deal with this tough problem. I'm very, very excited to be joined by Mr. Earl Scott, who is the head of the Office of Reentry, and Mr. Warren Thompson, the Director of Reentry at the Offender Aid and Restoration Organization. I'm really pleased to have you both on here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And so, guys, I'm excited about this, actually animated about it, because way back when I started as mayor, before I actually was mayor, I was just mayor-elect, we held community forums around our city. We called it sort of our early days of preparing to lead, to listen to what the community had to say as we transitioned to office. And almost every transition meeting we had, whether it was about economic development, whether it was about young people, whether it was about crime, the issue of reentry came up for everybody. It was amazing how people said the way, if you want to create lower crime, empower young people, if you want to try to make sure that our economy really works in Newark, you've got to deal with this population. And the numbers really are staggering. There's so many people that we all know, people who are watching today, family members, friends, someone knows somebody that's being affected by this system in America that is churning more and more people into prison, and then when they get out, slamming more and more doors into their faces. Right. And so what I meet a lot of guys out there in the community who say to me, Mayor, I need a job, and then they say almost like with a sense of surrender, but I have a past conviction. And what you guys represent in my life, honestly, is two guys who have become real symbols, substantive symbols in our city, of pathways to hope. But what's amazing to me is that both of you have walked that path yourself, from prison to possibility, to potential, to promise, to success. So I'd love to just talk to you guys both a little bit, and maybe, Warren, we can start with you if you don't mind.
Sure.
And share with me sort of your story.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Mayor, I can identify with the path of the formerly incarcerated because I am a formerly incarcerated individual. For a lot of years, I was in and out of institutions, and I was really chasing an illusion. I grew up in a pretty stable family, but I just got caught up in the 1980s wave of trying to make fast money illegally, and I never was able to really break that cycle. And it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth into incarceration. My last incarceration, which was in 2004, I can remember sitting in a cell and really starting to ask myself some tough questions. You know, there had to be more to life than this. This just didn't seem that I was fulfilling my potential as a man, and there had to be a different direction that I could take. So what happened was, when I did come home, I enrolled in Rutgers, Newark, and I eventually got my bachelor's degree in social work, and I continued on, and I got my master's degree in social work.
What was it that triggered you, though, from sort of going in and out of incarceration to saying, you know, let me go get my education now?
Yes.
What was it that?
You know, I think it really just came to a point in my life that I was tired. I was tired of going back and forth into incarceration. I had really strayed away from the way I was raised. I had a foundation. I had a reference point to go back to when I started asking myself these tough questions. Unlike some of the clients that I see that are coming up in systems that are so fractured and broken that they don't have that reference point. And I really have taken on the mission of trying to build a support system around you know, the program and around the clients to come through the program in order to allow them to hope the way I had hope.
Yeah.
You know, because eventually that's all it really boiled down to. It was, you know, either I have hope or I'm going to stay in this this state of despair.
Right. Earl, you know, you've been somebody that has been a friend of mine for years now, and what's just remarkable to me is your story as well, that really led all the way up into the time that I was mayor, that we were still putting things right, so that you can do even more for us as a community. So I really want to go from sort of the beginning of your story and take it all the way through to what you're doing now.
Well, I have a real unique story, Mr. Mayor. I came from a single family home. My mother was taking care of me. My father was not there, and I'm a product of the 60s. I started using drugs in 1966, 1965, around in those areas there when the whole country was in a cultural revolution of some sort. And what happened was I didn't know, out of all the years that I was bouncing in and out of institutions and even spending a year in the psychiatric hospital, that most of my difficulties came behind the fact, part of the variables was behind the fact of being abused. I'm not using that as an excuse for why I acted out the way I did, because I think it was my choice to make the decisions that I made. But there was a lot of factors that added into that. And for years and years and years, I mean, degradation, I mean, I've gotten to the point whereas that I slept in front of Lincoln Park, right across the street from down the street in Lincoln Park on the benches when they were there.
Yeah.
I rode the PATH train in and out of New York, and I slept in Penn Station in New York, and I was picking up, and at one time, Penn Station, Newark, you could stay in there all night one time. But when that ceased, I mean, I bounced around, and I myself, like Warren, always asked myself why. And I think the turning point in my life is that in White Deer, Pennsylvania, I went away for this last time, and I regurgitated the pain that I had felt of being abused and all the pain and suffering that I had caused so many people in my life. And in regurgitating that pain, it seemed as though that my life began to change, and I wanted to do something different. I mean, I even robbed my mother on her deathbed. I mean, really. And most people, when they see me now, they said, you know, you look like a guy named Earl. You can't be Earl because Earl should be dead now. So, you know, right now I feel very fortunate to be here now because, like, I've turned my life around for the best. And this is why I think I have such a passion for being able to carry forth your vision and the city of Newark's vision in order to help those that were in the situation that I am today.
So this show, I really want to talk about sort of pragmatic ways that we can get people help. And you guys, frankly, are all about sort of pragmatism, taking guys where they are and helping them, connecting them to rapid attachment to work and to other services that can empower their lives. But I don't want to lose the essence and the power of what you both have sort of said to me, because there's something spiritual going on as well.
That's right.
And it's almost a recognition of your worth and a recognition of the larger vision for yourself. And this is what I'm hoping right now, is that this show right now is being watched by somebody, and maybe it is a mother of a son that has gone astray, though you all both had mothers, or maybe it's a person himself that's flipping through channels right now and is listening to your voices, which are far more important than mine. On a spiritual level, what would you want to say to either that family member or that person themselves that may have fallen down on drugs, that may be robbing folks or may be involved in things? Because you now have all seen it, you've dealt with a lot of guys on a lot of different levels. So before we get to the pragmatic steps, spiritually, what would you want to say to one of these people?
You know, I'm thinking about my story, Mr. Mayor, and I can remember being in that cell on my knees with tears coming out of my eyes and